Today we are going to start our day 5 of mathematics bridge course, class 10th standard. Welcome to the channel Fly High. Like, share and subscribe also. Let's start the session. Today the concepts that we are going to learn are line and angle. We can see the concepts here, line and angle. Competency statement is there to identify pairs of angles. We have to identify, we have to find out the pairs of angles here. Okay, let us think about pairs of angles formed by lines intersecting each other. The statement says we should think about the angles made up by two lines when they intersect. If I draw one line, then if there is another line, then there are some angles due to this intersection. There are some angles. So we have to learn about these angles. So in this session we are going to learn that important points. The first point is here, adjacent angles. What are the adjacent angles? Two angles are said to be adjacent if they have common vertex. These two angles, angle AOB and COB, these two angles, this one and this one, these two angles are said to be adjacent if they have common vertex. Here the vertex is O. We can see this vertex O. Okay, then a common side. If a common side to the is there, then that time also there will be two angles forming. The third point is here, disjoint interiors. It means the interiors should not be joined, they should be disjoint interiors. Here we can see these two interiors, angle BOC and AOB. These two interiors are joint on point O. These two sides are joint on point O. That is why these two angles are called as adjacent angles. Second point is here, angles in linear pair. When the sum of measures of pair of adjacent angles is 180, then they form a linear pair of angles. We can see here there are some angles which are on a line. The line BA or AB is there. This straight line is there, and there are angles, angle AOC and angle DOC and angle BOD. These three angles are called as linear pair angles. Now let us see this. When the sum of measures of pair of adjacent angles is 180, if the addition of these three angles is 180, then they form a linear pair of angles. Or we can see here in this figure B, second diagram, AC is a line on which there are two angles are forming, angle BOC and angle AOB. these two angles 140 plus 40 is 180. So the sum is 180. What is the definition of linear pair angles? When the sum of measures of pair of adjacent angles is 180. Yes, the sum is coming out to be 180. Then they form a linear pair of angles. So at this moment we can say that these angles are linear pair angles. In the figure A, BOD angle and angle AOD, see here, BOD this angle and AOD this angle. AOD, where is AOD? AOD and BOD. Okay, these two angles. Similarly, in the figure B, angle AOB, we can see the angle AOB and angle COB are angles in linear pair. So I hope you have understood this definition of linear pair angles. The next concept is supplementary angles. What are the supplementary angles? If the sum of the measures of two angles is 180, okay, they are known as supplementary angles. It means angles in a linear pair are supplementary, but it is not necessary that angles which are supplementary form a linear pair of angles. Okay, let's discuss this. To understand the supplementary angles, we should see these two diagrams. Diagram first, AC is a line on which there are two angles. AC is a line on which there are two angles. Angle A, we consider this point as O. Angle AOB is 130 and angle COB is 50. So 130 plus 50 is 180. So according to our definition of supplementary angles, if the sum of measures of two angles is 180, so according to the definition of the supplementary angles, these two angles are called as supplementary angles. Now in the second diagram, angle CPD is 146 and AOB is 34. If we add these two angles, then what we will get? 6 plus 4 is 10, carry 1, 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 3 is 8, and this 1. So according to the definition, these two angles are supplementary angles. Now the fourth concept is complementary angles. If the sum of the measures of two angles is 90, okay, in the first diagram we see the first angle is 30 degree and the second angle is 60 degree and the sum is 30 plus 60 is 90. So according to the definition, they are known as complementary angles. These two angles will be called as complementary to each other. Similarly, these two angles, this one is 50 and this one is 40. 50 plus 40 is 90. That's why these two angles will also be called as complementary angles. The next concept, fifth point, is opposite angles. What is the definition? If sides of two angles form two pairs of opposite rays, then angles are said to be opposite angles. Okay, in the figure we can see line AB crosses the line CD and they intersect on point O. There are two angles opposite to each other. In the figure AOC, where is AOC? and BOD, BOD, okay, is a pair of vertically opposite angles? Definitely yes, these two angles are vertically opposite angles. Now similarly AOD and BOC, AOD and BOC is also a pair of vertically opposite angles. Vertically opposite angles are always congruent. So this is the definition, that vertically opposite angles are always congruent. So these two angles and these two angles will be congruent, or we can say equal to each other. The last thing that we are going to do is exercise. Exercise for today's session is like this. Question number 1, is it possible that two acute angles are complementary angles of each other? Okay, let's discuss first what angles are called as acute angles. Acute angles are the angles which are less than 90. These angles are called as acute angles. So according to the question, is it possible that two acute angles are complementary angles of each other? According to the definition, acute angles are the angles which are less than 90 degree. So the question is it possible that two acute angles are complementary angles of each other? So if I draw two angles which are less than 90, consider this angle is 40, and another angle is there, this angle is 50. So if they are acute, means less than 50, less than 90, then if the addition of these two angles will be seen, and if it is 90, then that time we can say the two angles which are acute angles are said to be complementary. So the answer is yes, it may be possible. Second question is it possible that two obtuse angles are supplementary angles? Here we will know first the obtuse angles will be always greater than 90. So obtuse angle will be always greater than 90. So according to the question, is it possible that two obtuse angles are supplementary angles? Means the addition of such angles, two angles, if I say 90 plus angles, 91 plus 91 is equals to 182. So we can say if the angles are obtuse, means more than 90, it may not be supplementary angle. Supplementary, to be a supplementary angle, it should be of 180 degree. So if we take 91 and 91 two angles, that time the addition, if we will take the addition of these two angles, will be more than 180. That's why the answer is no, it is not possible to be supplementary angles if the two angles are obtuse angle. The third question is it possible that two acute angles are supplementary of each other? It is also not possible, because if we say acute angles, that time That time we say the angles which are less than 90, consider 89 plus 89, the sum will be 9 plus 9 8, carry 1, 8 plus 8 16, plus 1 is 17. This is the addition of two acute angles. More acute angles will be less than 89, because the angles which are less than 90 are called to be acute angles. So if I say 40 is their acute angle, another angle is 60 is there, that time also the addition will be 100. So it is not possible to be supplementary angles if the both angles are acute angles. I hope you understood this. So is it possible that two acute angles are supplementary? No, not possible. Okay. The next question is, when will be two adjacent angles are complement of each other? This is our last question. No, last but one question. When will be two adjacent angles are complement of each other? Two adjacent angles are there. Complement means the angles, the addition of those two angles are is 90. So if I draw such diagram, the addition of these two angles is 90 degree. So when will be possible that two adjacent angles, we can see these two angles are adjacent angles, that angle AO, let us see, it is C, angle AOC and angle BOC, these two angles are adjacent angles. So the addition of these two angles is 90 degree. That is why we can say the two adjacent angles may be complementary when they are 60-30, or when they are 45-45. In many situations, in many scenarios, they may be complementary angles. The thing is that only they should be adjacent. Okay. So when will be two adjacent angles are complement of each other? We just have seen when they are placed together in such a ratio that 60 and 30. The last question is it possible that two obtuse angles form a linear pair of angles? Two obtuse angles, this is a last question. Two obtuse angles we will draw. So if I say one angle is here, this one is obtuse angle, that is more than 90. Another angle, consider this is 100. Another angle, consider this is 110. These two angles are linear angles. To be linear angles, to be linear pair of angles, the sum of those two angles should be 180. So the addition of these two angles is 210. It is not possible for obtuse angles to be on a linear pair. It means if I say obtuse angles, the minimum obtuse angle is 91 plus 91, that is 2 plus 18, 182. This is out of the criteria of linear pair of angles. To be a linear pair of angles, the sum of two angles should be 180. So we see the obtuse angles, the minimum obtuse angles addition is coming out to be 182, or we see another examples like this. So this is not possible. So the answer is it possible that two obtuse angles form a linear pair of angles? Is no. I hope you have understood this session. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Have a good time.